Hey, all right. I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna do another one of these live stream sessions where I'm doing some sort of uh, technical task, like a systems task, not necessarily live coding. Although with this one, I may get into a little bit of that. So the topic I'm gonna talk about today is let me share. Nope, it's not what I want to do. Is a continuous deployment setup. Let me sneak over here to the broadcast here, and let me pull this down. There we go. So, well, I guess there are animations there. There we go. Hold on. All right. What I'm gonna this is what I'm gonna do today. Where I have a library set up called GCP Env, which determines what GCP product you're running on. So if you're running on App Engine or Compute Engine or Cloud Functions, it will basically answer that question for you, like what product am I on? There's not like a unified way of doing this. I was looking through our APIs, and this is probably something that we should solve there, but we don't. You can answer the question, am I on App Engine? And you can answer the question, am I on Compute Engine? Although that answer is seemingly unreliable because I've gotten a response of I'm on Compute Engine when I'm on App Engine. So certainly bugs to be filed there. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a workflow where when I check in changes to GCP Env, that they get pushed out to all the environments that I'm tracking: a Compute Engine instance, a Kubernetes Engine cluster, an App Engine app, a Cloud Run service, and a Cloud Functions function. I have two example apps that illustrate the underlying library. One is a simple web server, and I use that with App Engine, Cloud Run, and Cloud Functions. And the second is a CLI interface that allows me to command line do the same queries. The reason why I'm doing this on Compute Engine and Kubernetes Engine is because one of the joys of being a Google employee, of working for Google Cloud, is that my Google Cloud setup is super restrictive, and that I can't always open port 80 or port. I think I can absolutely open port 443 on my account for Compute Engine instances and Kubernetes Engine clusters, but I can't open port 80. And like, this is just a simple, stupid little demo. Why do I need to go through all the work of getting HTTPS working for this little thing? So instead of in protest, instead of doing the work to get the cert working and everything, I just say screw it and just wrote it as a CLI command line example. So I'll show these running and show you what we'll expect as output, and then I'll walk through the checklist of what it is I'm actually going to be doing. So let's see. All right, so here we are in code where I like to do all my work, and we'll go to example, and we'll start with the HTTP version. Okay, and it is a simple Go app. You'll see here that basically I'm just spinning up a server on port 8080. I'm listening for an environment variable, but otherwise I'm setting it up on port 8080. And basically I just use this underlying library, GCP Env, to get a report, and then I do the report, and then I send the report as JSON. So we can see that real quick here. If I go and say go run main.go, yep, And then go here, 7. Yep. And we'll see we're all running. We'll see that since I'm running it locally, it correctly determines that I am not running on GCP, and that all of these environments are false. I'm not running this in Dockers or Kubernetes. This is running it straight. Great. And then I can do the same thing here and go to CLI, go run main.go, and we should see the same thing. Yep. All right, cool. All right, so this is pretty simple. I have this code running. Oh, I should at least kind of show the code, just to show what's going on here. So, so long story short, I have a number of checks for is it Docker, is it Kubernetes, is it App Engine, is it Compute Engine, is it Cloud Function, Cloud Run. And then I'll go back to determine in a second. But these are really, really simple, right? Basically what I do is I spin through a list of environment variables, and if they are present, I determine that you are on that environment. So, for example, Kubernetes comes with the hosts all seem to have Kubernetes _ host and Kubernetes _ service _ port _ HTTPS. Docker is a little bit different. There you're checking for existence of a file. File name is up here at the top, Docker env. I've split that out for testing purposes and whatnot. And then there's a little thing that goes through and basically applies, like if you're Cloud Run, we'll apply the label Cloud Run, label run, and whatnot here. And then there's a little bit of logic I have to do here. It's really slight. And basically, if you're on Compute Engine and you're on Kubernetes, I'm going to say you're on Kubernetes Engine. It is very possible that you could be running Kubernetes on a bare metal install, not bare metal, but like you did it the hard way and installed it from scratch. And quite frankly, if you are doing that, I don't feel like you're really. I don't feel like you're the audience for this quick and dirty figure out what product I'm running on. So there. So pretty basic, pretty simple, nothing too crazy. And what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to take the web version of that app and the CLI version of that app. And when I make a change to this code base, I would like it to install those apps fresh in whatever environment that I choose. So so let's set that up. So first off, those 5 environments are Cloud Functions, Cloud Run, App Engine, Compute Engine, and Kubernetes Engine. So in order to get it running on, the first one is running on Cloud Run and App Engine, and that's the HTTP version of this. And we'll see that I have just a very simple thing here. I had to add a couple things to make it work. To get it running on App Engine, I had to add an app YAML, and you'll see that's really minimal. Not doing too much there. And then for Cloud Run, I had to add 2 files. One is a Cloud Build file, and one is a Docker file. So the Docker file is pretty simple. Basically, I'm just going through and copying some files over, and then installing the entry point. I just realized that this is not going to work, so I'll probably have to do a little bit more work when we get to the Cloud Run portion. But for now, I'm going to do I'm going to do App Engine. So App Engine, if we look at the make file here, the deploy step is really easy. It's gcloud app deploy. So I want to make sure I can run this on Cloud Build. So in order to get this to run on Cloud Build, so the Cloud Build YAML file I have here is for Cloud Run. It's basically to create a Docker image of that app working. But I can also set up multiple cloud build files per project. And in fact, here I have a folder at the root here called triggers, and I have one built already. And it's cloud build GAE YAML, because the intention here is this is going to be the one I set up to do App Engine builds. And if we look at it, it's pretty simple here. Cloud build, the way you set up these files is you have a name. The name is a container name, a Docker image name. So there happens to be one named Golang, which is the Go official language one. And I'm going to add a Go test verbose step here, and then I'm also going to say so after that runs. Actually, you know what? Why don't we just So the first thing I want to do is make sure that all of this is working, right? Like I want to make sure that I test the code here. And in fact, I'll go through and just to show you that the tests are working and stuff, we'll run package tests here and we'll see that it runs. So everything is running and good. All right, so everything's working. This should work. I should just be able to push to cloud build and have it work. It's okay. So in order to get this to push to cloud build, I'm going to say gcloud builds submit, and then I think it's config, and that config is in triggers, and it is cloud build. Yeah. All right. So if we go back to cloud build. No, sorry, that's the wrong one. This one. What we're going to do is we're going to spin up a container. Actually, let me get the right place there. So we're going to spin up a container, and we're going to run go test /-v, which is verbose. So I should see output from a lot of the tests. And let's see this working. And feel free, if you're watching this live, you can ask questions. There's going to be a lot of bits of time where I'm just sort of spinning, waiting for something to happen, and I'll try to fill that, but I might not be able to. So if you have questions, by all means. Let's see. So we're going through. We're going to test, and pulling down all the Go dependencies. And I'm trying to think, is there something else I can do while I'm waiting for this? No, I feel like this, at least this initial one, we'll see. We'll just run. Stall by drinking. Okay. So it happens so fast, we didn't see it here, but we see that I have a whole number of tests and they all passed. Great. All right. So now that I know that the code is all working, I'm going to go add this next step, which is you'll see that it's GCRIO, Cloud Builders gcloud, app deploy -q. So this was one of the great things about Cloud Build. I have all these builders available to me. I can use any container, but we have a whole bunch built for building stuff on gcloud. And so I can just basically this is the equivalent. I would do it on my desktop. To install this onto App Engine, I would type gcloud app deploy. That container is already set up to go. All I have to do is pass in the arguments app deploy, and then I do -q, so I don't have to hit yes. And then the example it's going to start in is examples HTTP. So so what's going to happen is in the container that spins up in Cloud Build, it's going to run in the root. It's going to run the Go test suite first, and then it's going to go to this next one, and then it's going to cd basically to examples.http or examples/http, and then run this command. So let's do that. There we go. We're going to run it again. And again, we'll see. And again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Now, I'm pretty confident this will work. So I don't necessarily feel like I need to watch it. So the next thing I want to do is set up the connection between Cloud Build and my GitHub account so that I can start this, so that I can have this process, which I'm fairly certain is working, run every single time I update something in GitHub. So let me do that. Where do I, there, here we go. All right, so this is the Cloud Build dashboard, and you see we're going to set up a build trigger here. We'll go ahead and we're going to call this GAE CD. Right, so this is App Engine continuous deployment. We're gonna have it happen every time we push to a branch. Let's see, our source, we don't have a repository yet, so we're gonna add one. Yep. So it's gonna authenticate, and it's basically going to have me link my, I've already done it, so I don't have to, but so let's see, what is it? It's GCP env, right? Yep, there we go. GCP env. I understand signing away my life here. I'll connect the repository. Takes a second. Great. So I'm going to skip, basically it's trying to get me to create a trigger I was already going to trigger, but I'm just going to go back. Okay, we're going to create the trigger again. What did I call it? GAE dash CD. Okay. Repository is now there. All right. Now, this is helpful. I can push any branch I want. I'm going to push master. I'm also going to remember that I need to change that from master to primary at some point. But I can also, let's see, I can also limit the files that I'm looking at for this change. So like, let's say for this thing, I only wanted to update the web apps, the HTTP apps, when the folder HTTP gets changed. I could set that up. I'm not going to right now. I'm just going to point it at the right file here, triggers. Let's see, triggers, cloud build, GAE YAML, right? Let me just make sure that's the right folder. I did this all right, triggers, yep. All right, this should all work. We're gonna go ahead and create. Now we're gonna look here and see that this did work. So basically from my laptop, Cloud Build was able to run this script. So the next thing to do is really to see if Cloud Build can do it straight from the GitHub repo. So I'm going to go ahead and run. Uh-oh. No branches found. You still enter one manually. Why would it? All right, hold on a sec. I clearly screwed something up. Weird. Huh. Let me... Brian, GCP main. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. So this has already been changed, which is fantastic. But the default is still master, so we should change that. All right, let's run it again. Trigger. Okay, great. And this is basically the same thing that we would see in the command line interface, but we're seeing it right through the browser, which is really helpful. and you can actually go through, and this is kind of what I like. We can actually see all these builds in the past. So I can go back and earlier today, this is probably the one I just did. Yep, that worked. So yeah, you can go back and see all the logs for all of the ones you've done, which is really helpful sometimes. We'll see that it's still working. And I'm going to do the next step here, which is to get some local changes going. So I don't know what I would change. Let's see. How are we doing with documentation here and everything? Oh, you know what? It might be helpful to point out above this var that this var is global and set this way to make testing easier. Okay, so I've now technically made a change. We're going to wait till this build is done, which shouldn't be much longer. You'll see that we're already done testing and we're already deploying App Engine. Any day now. Come on. Finish. I'll point out again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the YouTube chat. And looking at this from a time perspective, I'm probably not going to get all of them done this week. One, that gives me something to do maybe next week if people are really interested in it. And if not, I can figure out something else. Anyway, so that is done. And sorry, let me just show you that went all the way done. And now let's show it happening in response to a GitHub event. So we're going to leave this on history. We go here. We're going to say updating docs to make this testing requirement makes sense. And let's go commit that to main, and we're going to push to origin. All right. So the change has been made. Now here's the big test. Will it... Oh, already there. So we'll see that it already triggered a build from that change in GitHub. So I'm pretty confident that this will work. So we can come back to it in a minute or two. I'd rather start building, show you how to build. I'll do, I will do the cloud function one, just because I think I'll run into some challenges there that hopefully will be interesting to do live. All right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to close everything that's up and running right now, and I'm going to go to. You'll see that I have an example written for GCF, and let's see. It's pretty straightforward. Does what all the rest of the examples are doing, so we'll leave that there. That's good. So what I want to do is create a new trigger. So I'm going to copy and paste. Paste. We're going to rename this GCF.yaml. All right. So looking at this, the first step is exactly the same as I wanted to before. I want to test before we go forward with it. And I'll probably just use gcloud to do this, but I want a different set of arguments. So the first thing I want to do is change the directory to GCF, because you'll see over here that before we were in examples HTTP, now we're in GCF, because GCF doesn't, it's just a function. You don't have to pull down the whole app server. I'm sorry, the whole web server the way you need to when you're going to App Engine or Cloud Run. So I just have a function here. I showed it there for a second, but let me just make sure there's nothing crazy that I need to show here. I probably don't need that, but I'm going to leave it. Oh yeah, because that was set up for something else. So I'll clean this code up later. But yeah, long story short, all I'm just doing is I have this function named GCP env that spits it out. And so I have a make file where I was able to get all the commands for all of this working. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's bring that over to GCF. And so these are all going to be arguments here. So let me, okay, so we don't need gcloud, but we do need functions. We need deploy. Yeah, this is ugly on my part, but region, trigger, I will definitely be cleaning this up in a minute. Runtime. There we go. All right, so that should be good to go. I'm just going to go through and there we go. All right, so just a little bit of formatting here to get this working right. And looking at this, this all looks good to me. So I want to run gcloud functions instead of gcloud app. Gcloud functions deploy. The service name is GCP env. Region trigger trigger is an HTTP trigger. I want to allow unauthenticated. Entry point is this GCP env function that I showed earlier. Runtime is Go 1.13, and then the source is the folder that I'm in, and that folder should be examples.gcf. All right, so this is all set up to go. One thing I'm not certain of, I don't think that region variable is going to hold, so I'm going to copy and paste it for now. I'd like to come up with some way of doing that dynamically, but I might not be able to off the top of my head. So this is all good. So let's go ahead and change this to GCF and see if this works. So the test should, oh, nope. Let's see. Line 5, column 13. Okay, so it does not like this. Let's see if that runs now. Nope. Oh, is it the spaces? It's probably the spaces. Okay. All right, let's see if that fixes it. Nope. All right. Oh, I'm missing a quotation mark. All right. Oh, I'm missing a couple. I'm missing them all over the place. No wonder this didn't work. All right. Hold on. Forgive me, for I am not the brightest bulb here. All right. Does this work now? Yep. Great. All right. So, By the way, this is the thing we just triggered. You'll see that's running from storage, but this is the one we just did. We'll see that it's successful. If it had failed, it would have been red, but it was successful, and we see that it ran in about 2 minutes. All the tests, and it uploaded that file to Google Cloud Storage. I'm sorry, to App Engine. Great. All right. So that is running. So we're gonna see that. I am looking at this. I'm fairly confident this is going to run. Oh, it might not run actually. We might run into a permissions error. But if that's the case, we'll fix it in a minute. But what we'll do now is we'll go and we'll set up a new trigger. Just so that you can see we get used to it here. Let's create a trigger. GCF dot continuous deployment. We're gonna every time it's pushed, the repository is the same one. Main, and then we're going to use a cloud build configuration file that is, what is it, GCF, and it is in the folder triggers. Okay, so that's all ready to go. Oh, important to note here. I was whining about having to stick the region in the cloud build file. It looks like I could set up substitution variables and allow multiple reuses of that with the variable instead. So I can do that if I want to. I'm not going to do it right this second because oh, let's see here. Oh, we have a failure. Good. So okay, good. So basically, the push to cloud functions failed because it looks like permission for cloud functions get was denied on this resource. So the problem here is that the cloud build account, and this isn't really that clear in this text here, which I should probably file a bug. But what's happening here is that cloud build is running its own context, and it does not have permission to administer cloud functions. So I ran into this with App Engine before when I was doing it with App Engine, and I started to make a makefile to fix it. And you'll see here I have permissions, gcloud projects, add IAM policy binding on project, and here's a little bit of trickery I have to do here. So member is a service account. The service account is for cloud build. The cloud build service account for each project is the project number at cloudbuild.gserviceaccount.com. So that is the email address, the account of the service account. And you'll see here I have this variable project number. Project number I get by doing some fun formatting of a gcloud command. Something that you can always do is gcloud projects list. This project is GCP env. Let's see. So, okay. So it's going to list all of my projects. It's probably going to be a crap ton. I just realized that's going to be a lot of projects. So that's going to run forever. One of the other joys of working for Google is I have like a bazillion projects. So let me, that's going to take forever. So long story short, there we go. And you'll see that wow, that is a lot of projects. So you'll see one of the things that spits out here, if you can kind of see as this is flying by, is I've got project names and then project numbers over on the side. And oh God, I'm just gonna, yeah, there we go. One of the things I can do is I can filter any gcloud output. So I'm going to filter that. And it equals, we're going to filter it with the name of the project, GCP env. Hopefully it's faster, although it's still slow. Come on. Sorry, this is taking so long. That's weird. That might explain, though, why this... Okay. So I won't do this again. There we go. We'll see that it spits out the project number. And then I can go one step further and format and have it just spit out just the project number. And that allows me to get the project number into a make variable. And then I can set the permission like this. So we're going to do the same thing we did for, this is App Engine here. And I'm adding it to the make file just because I wanted to stick around. But I need to find the right role. And luckily, there's a folder, there's a page in the documentation that helps you understand the roles. And I'm going to look up function roles. All right, so we see we have administrator, developer, invoker, and viewer. Okay. So we need Cloud Functions get, because we saw that was in the error. If we go up, oh, you know what? I can show it here. History. Error. So Cloud Functions get denied. So we know I need Cloud Functions get. I'll probably also want create and update, or at least update. So I think developer is the right one to go with. I don't want to go with admins. So I want Cloud Functions.developer. So let's add this to the role here. All right. And first thing I'm going to do is make permissions. It's going to run both of those. We see it's going to do that query for the project number, so it's going to take a moment. After it gets it the first time, though, it should get it the second time and be fine. Again, I'll point out that there is live chat, so if you are watching this and want to ask me a question, feel free. Otherwise, we're just going to stare at each other. Well, I mean, I'm staring at the screen. I don't know what you're just staring at. All right. I kind of want to check to make sure this works before I move. Okay, there we go. All right, so we added the App Engine. Now we're adding Cloud Functions Developer. We run that. So let's run this again. We're going to run this build file again. And then let's see. Did we already set up the trigger? We already set up the trigger. Okay, so we're going to have to wait for this to finish before we do this. And I think I'm just going to do these two and then call it a day, just because the rest of them are kind of repetitive. There we go. And so I'm a really big fan of this particular setup of hooking up GitHub to automatically push to where I need stuff to go for a number of reasons. One, I've been picking up a lot of projects of late that have been things that I've done in the past. Uh-oh. So there's a problem, but did I get something wrong here? Ensure the service account is a member of the project. Yeah. All right. So that. Why is that coming back as AppSpot and not? Okay. So what it's saying is that so it needs to be act as a particular member on the service account GCPN AppSpot. Okay. That's weird. Huh. Okay, I'm not gonna question this too much. I'm just gonna go ahead and set this up again. So it tells me exactly how I can fix it. So let's just go ahead and dump that in there, and let's just take a look at it real quick. So the member that we want to add here is this. And we want it to act as the service account user. And yeah. All right. So I'm going to comment out. You know what? No. Yeah, I'm just going to comment out the rest of this and run this again. So that way we still have to do that request for, you know what? Actually, no, you know what I'm going to do? Because I want to get this done. I'm going to copy and paste. Project number and then service account. All right, so let's see if this works. And let me just break this up here. All right, so looking at what it told us to do, it's add a policy binding to the GCP AppSpot gservice account, which is the App Engine service account, which I don't know why I have to add stuff to that to get functions to work, but I'll investigate later. But long story short, it's saying add basically a proxy, add a thing so that the Cloud Build service account can act as that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and see what happens. What? It's taking longer than I want. So I wonder if it's still doing that lookup. Yep. Okay, good. All right. So it just, all right. So it ran. It's interesting to note that it is still doing the lookup for project number. That was what was taking so long, even when it's commented out. So good to know. All right. So let's go ahead and run this again. Try to submit the build file. And hopefully this will work. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. So we're gonna have to wait till this is done. Let's see here. We go back to history, and again we see all of these are ready. Good. right. So anyway, I was in the middle when I got interrupted because we had an error. I really like this because it really does a good job of dividing, for me, the developer experience from the administrator experience, right? I set up this thing that just continuously grabs code from GitHub and just stalls it, does the deploy, the setup routine. Uh-oh. IAM policy failed. Oh, no, that's fine. That one is okay. That means this is working, though, which is good. All right, so that is working, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this bit of code, and then that'll give me a code change that I can add to GitHub, do the final push, and then project. Right, that's what I need to do. All right, there. I will go ahead and yep, it's all right. Getting new triggers to work for functions. All right, before I check that in, I want this to be done so I don't confuse anything. The one thing to note here is that you see this error that this failed. Warning, IAM policy failed. That's because I work for Google and it won't let me share it won't let me share a cloud function with everybody. But it looks like it's done. Great. So this is all done. So awesome. So why don't we go ahead and commit this change, push to origin, and should see. And now we should see in the history yep, there we go. So we see two separate triggers running at the same time from this push. So the GCF one and the App Engine one. So I'm fairly confident that these will work now, so I'm not going to wait for that to run, and I'm just going to go over here to switch out my screen. And so there we go. We did a couple things today. We've got Cloud Build working for two separate environments, for a push to App Engine and a push to App Engine and a push to Cloud Functions. We have it set up to run automatically whenever I check into GitHub. And I'm probably going to go through and do the rest of them, the rest of the changes, and I'll make sure that GitHub repo is public in case people want to look at the work I did. So I'll leave with one last call for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the live chat. Otherwise, I'm going to sign out in just a minute. All right. Well, you can always reach me at tpryan on Twitter.